Hello, everyone. It's 2 p.m. and we are now live with a webinar, How Data is Changing the Out-of-Home Media Industry. Good afternoon and welcome. And thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Devjit and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager of LifeSite. Today, we will discuss the role of data and how it is changing the out-of-home media industry. We have some guests today to share their thoughts and talk about the changing space of the industry in recent times. A very warm welcome to our panelists. We have Amanda Wu, Chief Development Officer at Clear Channel, Singapore. Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And we also have Ravikumar Shankar, Data and Technology Lead, Annalect, Singapore. Hi, Ravi.
Hey, hi, guys.
And this webinar will be moderated by Sangeet Krishna, Country Manager of LifeSite Singapore.
Hey, hi, everyone.
Hi, Sangeet. We also have allocated some time at the end of the panel for audience questions. So feel free to post your questions on the chat widget of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of this webinar. Over to you, Sangeet.
Well, thanks, Devjit. A warm welcome to everyone. It's 2 p.m. here in Singapore. Very good afternoon once again. And I would also like to thank the panelists, Ms. Amanda and Mr. Ravikumar Shankar, who joined from Annalect. Welcome, you guys. To give an introduction of myself, I'm Sangeet, actually working as a country manager based here in Singapore. A founding team member from LifeSite, from the early days of LifeSite. Been in different geographies, now based here in Singapore. So I'll be taking you through I'll be the presenter at this moment for you guys to take you through the webinar. So we will go one by one. So we will understand how the data is actually revolutionizing the out-of-home. So here we are going to talk about actually the evolution of the out-of-home media. As you guys can see in front of your screen. So if you look at it, out-of-home is one of the traditional media forms actually that has existed for a very long time. Perhaps I can say it's one of the most popular one also. No doubts about it. But over time, it has also evolved considerably as per the market conditions, giving a greater space for brands to market themselves to consumers in the physical world. So I hope you also agree with me. And if you look at it, the biggest advantage of the out-of-home media is that you cannot skip or block ads. So unlike what we do actually in an impressions or in a YouTube ad or a digital ad or anything, we can skip or we may not skip. But out-of-home, when it comes to out-of-home, we never miss it because we always pass by it and it's a big screen which actually takes the eyeballs. So if you look at it, out-of-home revolves around two things. One are the vantage points as well as the eyeballs if you look at it. So nowhere you will be able to skip is what I'm trying to say here. So if you look at it, it's actually out there in the world for all the users or the consumers to see. It's larger than life if you look at it and impossible to miss, giving the opportunity for brands to make themselves unknown. So out-of-home has been there for a quite long time, but slowly it is also getting evolved is what I'm trying to say with all the modern technology and all those things. So it is, the traditional billboard has been there from late 1930s or 1940s, I could say that. It has been there. So from late 1990s, if you look at it, slowly the out-of-home media industry, if you look at it, the out-of-home media industry started with printed billboards, where actually the advertising process was manual and quite laborious. So if you are looking at 30 or 40 years before, whenever we need to put a billboard ad, it was very manual and it's very laborious also. So eventually what happened is that, if I have to say that in late 1990s, the industry evolved into digital billboards with dynamic creators and real-time advertising. So you could see the neon lights, you can see a lot of digital billboards, which are actually lighting up the streets. So this started in late 1990s or 85s or 87s, I can say that. So from a traditional billboard, how it has moved to a digital billboard. So that was a second evolvement of the out-of-home media. So now, has it stopped there? No. Still, it started evolving. Then what came the next was the programmatic DOH. This was with the advantage of automating all the media buying between the demand and supply side. So by integrating the DOH into online and mobile marketing and communication plans, advertisers can actually create a comprehensive strategy that communicates with users while he's at home or while he's in transit or elsewhere, as I can actually say. One of the biggest advantage of digital out of home or the programmatic out of home is this, what I said. So actually advertisers can create a comprehensive strategy that communicates with users while he's at home or in transit or elsewhere. So if you look at it, as an advertiser, it is quite crucial to reach the target audience with the relevant messages and be able to measure the performance of the marketing campaigns. So that is where the biggest thing which actually come into play, which is current one, what we are right now. I can call that as the biggest engine right now the world is using, the data part. Data is the biggest one right now in the world. Without data, nothing actually moves on. Be it any marketing, be it anything, whatever you talk, it comes with a handful of data or insights or analytics, what we call. So now, out of home also understood that, okay, all the traditional out of home media owners or the agencies which are handling out of home understood the importance of data. So what now? So with the data, if you look at it, advertisers can actually now measure, plan, and actually retarget their ads to reach their right audience and optimize their omni-channel marketing. So in short, with data, out-of-home media actually sits on par with all the digital channels is what I can say. So that's the reason I'm saying that how data is playing and what is the importance of data right now in DOH. So from an OH, from a traditional out-of-home, we slowly move towards digital out-of-home. And from there, we move towards the programmatic DOH. And now we are in a space of programmatic DOH combined with data, which is commonly or which is popularly used by all the out-of-home media owners. So this is something very important. Now that we understood the importance of data actually in and out of home, it's a general question that everybody tends to ask. So what is this data? What is the kind of data? Or what are the types of data that an out-of-home actually uses? How data is playing an important role? Can you just elaborate something on the data part? So if you ask that what are the types of data which are used in out-of-home, see, if you look at it, you can see in the screen, there are several types like human mobility, like demographics, weather, we can say, traffic, which helps to supplement. So how data can be used by advertisers is these are the things what I've actually given it. So you can see in front of your screen, there is a example which I've given, the human mobility data, which is used to actually find the footfall of the targeted population. So this is the map which I put of Japan. So you can see how the human mobility data actually looks like in Japan. So that's a small screen. I'm sure that all of you are able to take a look at it. Okay. Now, with the current COVID scene, with the current COVID scene right now, what's happening? It has brought all the business to a screeching halt is what I can say. The impact of the global footfall change due to COVID-19 has been huge. So if we can look at, there is a small graph. Yeah. So as you can actually see in the graph, the retail footfall actually saw a dip in the mobility around the globe. It is just not Southeast Asia. It's just not APAC, or it is just not ANZ. It is impacted globally, if you look at it, everywhere. So from March to May, there has been a steady but decrease in footfalls. Exactly if you say that around 3 months, if you look at it, there is a complete decrease in the footfalls. But with lockdown and quarantine easing up in May, people may have started or have started moving again. So I can say right now, Singapore is currently in phase 2. So we can say that slowly people are started coming out. But still, if you ask me, have everybody come out? No. Has all the business come back to normalcy? No. So it's slowly gaining traction. So it takes a little bit of time, is what I'm trying to say. So integrating data into mix, you gain such information and more about consumers getting deeper understanding into their personas. So these are quite some types of data which I've been telling. Now the most interesting one. So now if you question me, how data is used in out-of-home media? A very relevant question and a very important slide to understand the use cases. So I put in front of the screen at least 4 or 5 use cases, but eventually, or when we go up, or during the coming years, there will be many use cases. So we come up with one use case, and then it was 2, then it was 3. So whatever we have tried to put over is the common use cases, what has been used in out-of-home media. So now let's come to what data can do or how it can be used in the out-of-home industry. So if you look at it, it can help achieve improvements in measurements, planning, and activation, footfall, as well as mobile retargeting. So with media measurements, if you look at it, out-of-home advertisers actually can measure the unique number of people who have seen the ad, its impression, and reach using the human mobility data, which is a very important thing. So the question is, which advertisers have in mind, if you look at it as, how do I reach the right person with my ad? A very common question which comes in the mind of any out-of-home. So this is where the media planning comes in. With media planning, if you look at it, the out-of-home advertisers can identify and select the best out-of-home sites to run their campaigns based on the audience personas actually found regularly in the vicinity of their site. The first thing what any out-of-home media owner will be looking at is before, or a brand marketer will be looking at is, before a brand picks up the site, he would like to know what kind of audience or what kind of audiences are coming, what is the demography, what kind of age or agenda, what kind of brand affinity. So there are a lot of audience data which he would be typically looking in before a brand marketer actually takes him to the planning. Once the media planning is over, that is, when he selects the right amount of billboards and everything, now comes the media activation part. So advertisers actually can use various data like actually weather data or a foot traffic data, a time of day to deliver the real-time marketing messages. So by implementing footfall measurements, out-of-home media owners actually can measure the increase in the nearby store. A very important aspects right now. For the last 1.5 years, it has been commonly used by most of the out-of-home media owners or the brand marketer. So the brand marketer will typically ask, okay, so my user has actually come into the out-of-home vicinity. Fair enough. What is the next action? What is the action has he taken? Has he seen my ad? After seeing my ad, has he visited my retail store? Those are the questions which actually comes into a brand marketer's mind. So are we able to solve it? Yes. That's one of the use cases that we are actually able to measure the number of actual users who are coming near the out-of-home billboard and then visiting a nearby store. So if you look at it, I would also take this opportunity to say, as a continuation of the journey from a digital out-of-home property to a digital out-of-OH property to a digital property like a mobile or a web, advertisers actually can run mobile retargeting campaigns for users who have seen their out-of-home campaign to drive further engagements and brand awareness. So this is something in the out-of-home industry that we call it as a screen extension or a mobile screen extension, where any typical advertisers who wants to also reach the same user who has come near the billboard with an extended same ad what he has seen in the billboard in his mobile. Because very, very important that all the brand marketers have actually understood that it is just not enough that I see a person who's coming near the billboard and walking to my store. But is it also possible for me to target the user, okay, to increase the brand recall? Will I be able to target him on his mobile once again when he's in a different place with the same screen, with the same billboard ad? So let's say that it can be any brand ad with the same billboard ad. Can I reach you? Yes. So that's where the mobile retargeting options comes, which is quite popularly used by most of the people in APAC right now. So there are a lot of people who are moving towards this mobile retargeting campaigns. Yeah. So these are the commonly use cases, or how I can say that how data is actually used in out of media. So we have put actually 4 to 5 things, but trust me, in the coming years, you will see again a lot of use cases which will be coming, because with the raw data, I think you can get into a lot of use cases in the coming years is what we expected. So now, I think I have given you a small introduction about how the data has been used in out-of-home marketing from the time it has evolved, from the types of data and the use cases. So I just wanted to ask my panelists. So once again, I would like to invite Amanda as well as Ravi. Hi, guys. So I just wanted to know, how was actually the APAC market adopted to a programmatic DOH, and actually where do you think it is moving towards, Amanda and Ravi? In your words, if you can just put across, Amanda.
Perhaps I can give the perspective for the Singapore market. So
Yes.
if we look in just the last 5 years, programmatic digital out of home has been much asked about from our agency partners and advertisers. It was a time that digital had been on the double-digit growth, and owners like ourselves have invested in expanding our digital out of home inventory and the way that we sell digital. So in that period, I think owners embarked on building our own proprietary planning booking platforms. And for Clear Channel, we launched a new buying model called Play Plus back in 2018. It's a goal-based approach. You buy by displays or audience views. Though it was not in the true programmatic form, but it definitely took us one step closer in investing the right data and building the infrastructure. So this year, July, we launched Outsmart Pro. This is our programmatic piece in partnership with Tech and Lifesites Mobility Data. So since we've launched, the response has been encouraging. Advertisers are seeing the benefit of programmatic because it gives them that speed, control, and intelligence. But of course, there are advertisers who are adopting a wait-and-see approach because they're waiting for case studies to prove the effectiveness of programmatic buy in digital out of home.
Okay.
For those who are ready to trial, agency advertiser partners, whom some of them are actually on this call today, have shared with us that this is long awaited. For the last 5 years since out of home has progressed and digitized assets, they're finally seeing the alignment in the digital ecosystem. So that this is timely during the time of this pandemic, where marketers are more careful on the spend. They may be looking to manage smaller budgets and really want that control to optimize. And of course, the intelligence piece, because of mobility data, it tells us the recency. And that's great for market. So I would imagine Ravi would expand to a larger perspective across APAC.
Yeah, sure, Amanda. I mean, from our perspective, we started piloting our programmatic digital out of home back in 2019 in some of our key markets like Indonesia, India, and Malaysia, working with various vendors. This is it's an extension of our digital media strategy to boost the audience reach. And also, as Sangeet pointed out, we also experimented with the retargeting mobile users to build frequency. And we are still exploring many other creative ways to use digital OOH. And it's thanks. I mean, being in Singapore, I think we will have a lot more work to do in terms of exploring better ways to creative ways to explore digital out of home. Due to the current market situation, we have not piloted many campaigns across APAC markets. I'm sure we will do more campaigns in the future. And you asked an interesting question, Sangeet. Where is it moving towards? So, where is it going forward? I truly believe as more and more vendors like Clear Channel and everybody is putting their inventory into the DSP, and DSPs begin to support programmatic digital out of home media. I'm sure this medium will become an integral part of the most mainstream media buys in the future. Having said that, there are a lot of education needs to be done. I mean, it's not to say that there is no disrespect to anybody. There are different programmatic digital OOH is slightly different than programmatic. What we're seeing through for mobile and other online stuff is slightly different because of the mediums is slightly different. I think there are a lot of confusion around what it can do. I think as an industry, as an agency, we need to constantly educate our teams to identify what are the advantages, what are the different methods one can buy media through programmatic, and what are their advantages and disadvantages. And I think we need to make it very clear. Once people understand all those things, I'm sure it will become an integral part of mainstream media buys.
Okay.
Sangeet, and I do agree with Ravi because even for a large market like US, who's been more advanced in programmatic, there was a study by IAB stating that the education piece is something that came up the top in terms of the need for when we talk about programmatic. And in the top 3 was also the other point on standardization of data, which would be the key issues that we probably need to resolve together as an industry in the next couple of years.
Yeah, got it. Hello, Amanda?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Yeah. So I can actually see there is a lot of constant change which is happening in the present consumer behavior. So how do you see the programmatic deliver or the programmatic DOH actually deliver an effective campaigns?
Okay, I can start off this. The programmatic, I mean, if you look at programmatic DOH may not offer the same kind of one-to-one targeting what we are used to and in online, but still there's a plenty of data to work around with. For example, you just shared some of the insights in your slides about mobility, weather, and quite a few stuff. Apart from that, I can also add into some of the marketing data, some of the CRM data. It can be used. We can set multiple triggers or one or more data triggers to execute a programmatic transaction that results in a very creative way of buying media or designing a very memorable or effective campaigns. One of the most important thing is it's also when using programmatic DOH, it also ensures our ads get seen by the audience the most relevant times. That is another one. That means not only effective campaign, we also bring in a lot of efficiency here. We don't have to waste buying a billboard which runs ad throughout the day. We can manage our budgets a bit more smartly. As I see, there is no limit to what kind of data we can use to define or to design an effective campaign. So I think the biggest strength of programmatic is its speed and efficiency in which ad gets delivered. The more, we can deliver more relevant messages more quickly. I think that is the most impactful, the biggest strength of programmatic DOH.
Okay. Yeah. Amanda, what's your thoughts on this?
When I think perhaps I would first look at the source of data for programmatic. And I mentioned earlier that the IAB did mention that standardization of data is one of the top concerns by the industry.
Okay.
And just for the benefit of everyone here, the standardization that IAB refers to is defining a audience segment in a consistent way and having that methodology and measurement and currency for programmatic digital out-of-home. So Ravi mentioned earlier, for out-of-home environment, it is a one-to-many, whereas digital is a one-to-one model. And this is something that is most distinctive, the most distinctive difference when we talk about programmatic digital out-of-home. So on the data front, whilst IAB proposed a recommended impressions multiplier, the source of data and methodology still varies. So how are we as media owners, as Clear Channel, making sure that our data is the best possible source for programmatic? So maybe I will share a little bit more here so that there's a little bit more understanding on how this is being layered.
Okay.
As we rely on a third-party video analytics that measures footfall at our shelters. And then we use recommended impression multiplier model by IAB. Then is OTS, footfall opportunity to see, multiplied by dwell time. And because of the capability of video analytics, it allows that granularity of data that can be specific to location, specific to time. And our programmatic partner, HiSec, who is present in US and Australia markets, actually shared that this is the most sophisticated level of data that they've seen, which is very encouraging for us.
Well, that's nice to hear.
On with live sites location intelligence data, we can then help advertisers determine the location that are contextually relevant to their particular audience segment.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks. That was quite thoughtful, Amanda. Yeah. So I have one more, just a small point to look at it. So what is your thoughts on how traditional out-of-home measurements actually differ from our modern data-driven methods? And how does it actually help in the media planning activities? Ravi?
Yeah, interesting questions on measurement. I mean, I love answering any questions on measurement. The traditional OIH measurement, as you see, it's pretty much driven by one-off or multiple waves of research. It's pretty much static and very predictive in nature. But there are certain level of accuracies there, but even though it is predictive. But modern data-driven is very dynamic and a bit more real-time. And definitely when you compare with traditional, it's a huge improvement. Having said that, availability of the data does not equal to accuracy of data. We are on the right path with all the data is available. I think accuracy will keep on improving with innovation in technology like visual sensors, which quite a few markets in US are using visual sensors to identify onlookers, people who are looking at the screen, rather than just looking at people who are visible or in the peripherals of the screen. The peripherals of the screen with location data is very, very important. I'm not saying it is not important. It gives you what kind of people are there and stuff like that. It's a great data to doing planning. But when it comes to campaign post by measurement, advertisers or clients want to see data who are seen in an ad and not just being there in the ad. There is a bit of a difference. There is a bit of a gap there. I'm not complaining. The gap will come to very close with technology innovation, and I'm sure there will be very soon we can see people who are looking at the screens, some of the reach and frequency data, not just visibility. It improves the planning because once we understand how many people are looking at the ad, those metrics will definitely improve the way we craft our plans, the way we build our plans. It helps in a bit more precision marketing, right? Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, thanks, Ravi. Amanda, what's your thoughts? How we see the traditional out-of-home measurements actually differing from the modern data-driven methods?
So we've invested in data and insights for the last 17 years, measuring across reach and frequency to ad recall and brand perception to tracking community footfall, views, and mobility patterns. If you give me the distinction between traditional and modern, traditional out-of-home measurements in the form of surveys still remain an effective tool to research, in my opinion, because they allow for customization of the questionnaires to be very specific to objective outcome and to dive deeper into understanding brand perception.
Okay.
We talk about what you term as modern, maybe more sophisticated tech capabilities. Measurements such as video analytics or location intelligence allows a few things to happen. Scale is one of them. We're talking about the ability to conduct much larger scale studies and therefore more robust information, as you presented earlier, that robust data. Second, recency of data. The ability to capture the most recent behavior and layer that on with speed, because to access that data instantly allows us then to let our advertisers act quickly and to optimize. And I think that's the key part, and that's the driver for the modern methods.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So what do you think, or I can say that how are the modern data-driven methods actually helping to prove the media effectiveness and the final one, which is the big word, what we call as the marketing ROI? So what is your thought process on this? How are actually the modern data-driven methods helping to actually prove the media effectiveness and the marketing ROI?
It's important to measure effectiveness and ROI. But I think, in my opinion, the modern days data-driven technology like methodology like footfall attribution is the better methodology to measure effectiveness and marketing ROI, because it gives a real time what people who got exposed to an ad and people are walking into a store. It gives us to build that gap between exposure to some level of conversion or some level of walk-ins. That's the best way. But having said that, most of the attribution reports I have seen that it's a pretty much standard attribution report. They give it for every single campaign. It may not be really, really helpful for all the campaigns, for all the brands. That calls for customization and attribution. That is customization in the way we look at the data, where we look at the marketing ROI. That comes with an additional cost to the advertisers. So even though we have all this, the wealth of data, the cost of measurement is still a bit expensive, I feel. It is there, it is still feel. And also, if you need to require a custom level of reports, custom level of things, it takes a lot of time to set it up with the technology vendors like you. We have worked in the past with you, Sangeet, and you understand what I'm saying about.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So definitely there is methodologies, but it comes with it comes with the cost, and also because just Amanda also mentioned the improved media efficiency with digital. There are a lot of availability of metrics, and still we could use some predictive way of measuring the marketing ROI, like using market mix modeling, because we have a better measures. Earlier, we used to do a lot of marketing mix modeling for outdoor. It's only based on spends. In my opinion, spends is not a great predictor. It needs to be some level of audience impressions. Now we have a better impressions. We have impressions. We have reach numbers. So I think when we start using those variables, it gives us a better prediction of marketing ROI than what we used to do previously.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda, your thoughts on this?
I agree with Ravi that the out-of-home attribution and measuring that footfall and finally giving proof on conversion is really something important for our advertisers. But we are also demanded to recommend sharper at pre-campaign, because they're saying, I don't want to know only at the end of my campaign after I have spent the money to realize if I did well or not. And so one of the early discussions that we have with LifeSite when we're still assessing our partners is, how are you going to build us something that is of reliable data that we can actually plan much better for our advertisers? So our tool that we call Outsmart Pin, that is powered by LifeSite's data, it allows us to do pre-campaign planning. So with this platform, it identifies the out-of-home locations to buy into, where advertisers' audience segments and their behaviors can then pinpoint to the exact locations that they should be buying into. And we're also recency of data because it's a 30-day look back. We can tell who were the last set of people who visited supermarkets in the last 30 days. And we capture them in places that may not be actually within the usual standard networks that they may be buying.
Okay.
Because then we layer on from pre-campaign to then measure the attribution to footfall. So we have the full scale and the full journey being mapped out and all backed by data. And I think that's the value to our advertisers.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Amanda, for those thoughts. Yeah. I just want to pass on this back to Debjit.
Thanks, Sangeet. Thanks, Ravi, and thanks, Amanda. It was really interesting to hear your point of view. There are indeed lots of opportunities for the out-of-home media industry to reach new heights with data and technology. Yeah, so we still have some time left. So let's take some questions from the audience. I've got two interesting questions, which we can which anyone of you can pick and answer very quickly. So the first question is, are you seeing a growth in the out-of-home media by request today?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Yes, the question is, are you still seeing the growth in the out-of-home media by request today? So
by request?
Yes.
I think for us, every touch point has got a role in the communication plan. We use it as per the communication objectives, and it's still relevant. We are not saying it is still not relevant. I think we need to understand the campaign objective. Based on the campaign objective, our planners will come out with a plan. What are the most interesting, what are the most effective touch points to deliver those objectives? And I think out of home pops out in quite a few campaign objectives, especially when we are thinking of building awareness. Most of the awareness campaigns we are doing, we need to create a 360-degree surround effect of media. So out of home is pretty much in contest. And we do use, I didn't understand the part of by request. What do you mean by request? But if you're thinking about it, is relevant? Yes, it is absolutely relevant.
Great. Amanda, any thoughts on this?
If we assume that you're asking if there is growth in out-of-home and if there's continued demand, by data point, I would refer back to Magna's predictions last year to call out that only digital and out-of-home spend are the ones that will be increasing in media spend. Of course, this was before the pandemic, but it still showed that advertisers are looking to these two mediums as the platform. And we particularly see growth and demand in digital, and which is why we have been investing a lot in refining the way that we sell digital and growing our inventory.
Great. We have the second questions, which is what is next for the out-of-home media formats? Any new technology or existing technology in this space?
Yeah, I think Amanda is the best person to answer that. What is coming up as a new format?
So when it comes to investing in what's next, our focus is always very much on digital, tech, and data across these 3 points. Not any format or product per se, because it doesn't necessarily need something that is of a hard asset, but really on the infrastructure and building in the right data and the layers of data that will make the buying sharper. So this is something that we continue to evolve from traditional surveys to video analytics to programmatic. And right now we are definitely focusing on selling digital right. And it is a learning experience, to be honest, with our partners as well. And I know many of them are on the call as well. That this is a journey that we go through together and really educate and learn from each other as well.
Sangeet, over to you.
There is a question which has been asked to all the panelists, I think. I don't know whether you're able to see, but I can actually see the question is, it goes like this. How effective it will work to select specific billboard, maybe recommended out of a cluster of billboard at prime location, as normally there will be more than a couple of billboard at each location. So Rajiv, it's a question from Mr. Rajiv. I think he has asked how effective it will work to select specific billboard, maybe recommended out of the cluster of billboard at prime location, as normally there will be more than a couple of billboards at each location. I think the question is more on the data perspective, how we can derive the data out of a cluster of billboard at prime locations. Out of a cluster of billboards, they have to pick one or two billboards and find out the audience insights. Is the question, I think. Amanda, you have an answer or?
Sure. So if I take this as if it was a brief to us, I would apply using the tool that we have with you, Liza.
Yep.
So I mentioned earlier that the starting point is this is an audience-based planning. So what you think would be the prime locations, but really ask you what is the audience segment and the behavior that you're looking at. So if you were buying for a QSR, McDonald's, for instance, and you do need to look for people who frequent to fast foods and maybe even want to look at people who frequent to your competitors' outlets, that would be the starting point on using location intelligence to then determine that these are the prime locations with the audience that you want, of the highest traffic that you should buy into. So it completely changes the way that you buy from a standard, which is a particular network or a cluster, as you call it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so thanks, Amanda. I think we are just nearing the time. I think there are a few more questions which are left. I think we should leave it to Debjit. Debjit, how do we go about it because constraint of time?
We have constraint of time for today. So what we can do, we can just answer these questions in the form of blog. We can come up with a blog with all the answers to the questions which our attendees had asked today, right? So yes, huge thank to Ravi and Amanda. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here. We really appreciate that. And thanks to everyone who has joined us today. We will be sharing an email with a link of the webinar recording so that you can share with your colleagues. And I would also like to thank the team who helped put this together behind the scenes. Thank you all. Thank you once again for your time and hope to see you soon. Thank you.